Ben Shapiro on a kind of smaller level really is representing an anti-Semitic stereotype by trying to punish his employee or shut her down, Candace Owens, for tweeting a biblical verse, "Blessed are the peacemakers." She really screwed him. I don't know if you saw the Norman Finkelstein interview she conducted.
I did. It was great. It was actually one of the best interviews I've seen Norman do. He was really on point. He didn't go on these long tangents that I think sometimes go too far and go on for too long. He was really on point. And I wonder, Ben Shapiro, he really should be having Norman Finkelstein on to debate him. And the way Norman's been trolling Ben Shapiro has been really funny. He said something
Norman said, do I have to wear a diaper and be a baby in order to get him to? Because first he started out by saying, I'll like enroll in college if he'll agree to debate me. And then he's like, do I have to wear a diaper? So Candace Owens has him on, and she starts out by saying, I actually don't know a lot about this conflict, and I want to hear from a Jewish person who opposes Zionism. It was amazing to see that. And the amount of respect she showed him and just pure intellectual curiosity, because she was taken on a trip. I think she was taken to the dedication of the embassy, the U.S. embassy in Jerusalem, because she's been groomed as this kind of like conservative incorporated Black Republican. They need Black faces to promote their agenda, which often runs counter to the economic interests of Black people in America. And she started to think outside the box, which is just so dangerous. And had Norman Finkelstein on. I mean, this is a signal moment. Alex Jones, he is now denouncing U.S. aid to Israel. He's been on the side of the NWO when it comes to Israel all along with Paul Joseph Watson. They've been pathetic shills for Israel. They've been the most blue-pilled personalities in media, and now Alex Jones is calling it out. I mean, Israel is losing conservatives now in a way I never could have imagined. I just I thought I was dreaming when I saw Norman Finkelstein on the Daily Wire.
I just saw that Cardi B called out Biden for trying to get over $100 billion for Ukraine and Israel, and she said she's done with him. And I was watching, I was thinking, how long before Jonathan Greenblatt and the ADL call Cardi B an anti-Semite because she opposes more military aid for Israel and Ukraine? I bet it's only a matter of minutes. It's coming anytime.
Yeah, I mean, well, they love controlling Black people, the Israel lobby, because it's a dangerous constituency that's faced oppression, that is just naturally suspicious of what's being done to the Palestinians. And that, to just be frank, has had a pretty bad history of interactions with the Jewish establishment in big cities.
Yep.
I mean, you have the whole Jesse Jackson comment about Hymietown, where his 1984 campaign for the presidency was destroyed over that. There's still resentment over that. Danny Glover, they targeted him. He was one of the first Black celebrities to speak out for Palestine. And they like to just buy. And so they try to buy people off. They have the Haim Saban Fellowship, where they, anyone who gets elected at a historically Black college as class president immediately gets a call from AIPAC, and they offer them a free, all expense paid trip to DC to the AIPAC conference. And then they treat them like extremely important people there, and they're like, hey, we're going to hook you up with a job after college. You want a good job in an investment firm? What do you want? Law firm? And I mean, look what just happened with Van Jones.
Oh my God. By the way, the image is showing here. Here's Kyrie Irving of the NBA, the Dallas Mavericks star point guard, wearing a keffiyeh, showing his solidarity.
Well, remember what happened with Kyrie over, he was opposing vaccine mandates, and the ADL targeted him. Well, he was being, seen as this huge threat to the NBA because all the players knew it was bogus. Like the NBA Players Union was the first players union to make sure that they could smoke marijuana and not be, destroyed. Yeah. They kind of just know that this is bogus. And Kyrie speaks out, says he's not going to take the jab. And then he starts being attacked for being an anti-Semite because he had expressed some public interest in some Black Hebrew Israelite propaganda, which had some bizarre theories about Jews. And he's forced to pay the ADL for them to go away. He actually had to
shakedown.
It was a shakedown operation, just like we're seeing with Elon.
Yeah, yeah. Where Elon said some stupid anti-Semitic thing, and as a result, he gets attacked by the ADL, and he compensates by saying he's going to ban people who say from the river to the sea.
Yeah, and maybe change the algorithm to benefit pro-Israel forces.
Yeah,
just to save his own skin. I'm kind of tempted to play the Van Jones clip before we
for sure
move on.
For sure.
Where is it? I mean, I was watching it live and I was just cracking up.
So Van Jones spoke at this solidarity rally with Israel in DC. Other speakers were Hakeem Jeffries, Chuck Schumer, the Republican speaker, Mike Johnson, some of those fanatical evangelical bigot preachers, the ones who've said before that like Hitler was part of God's plan to drive the Jews to Israel, things like that. What's his name? Hagee?
Yeah, Pastor John Hagee, the leading Christian Zionist who said that the Antichrist was half Jewish and homosexual with fierce features. This is the guy they bring there. And like Schumer, Charles, we're waiting to stop Hamas. And then he like comes out with Mike Johnson and Hakeem Jeffries, and they're like joining hands like it's We Are the World in this bipartisan show of support for genocide. I mean, whenever there's a show of bipartisanship in Washington, a lot of people are going to die. But then they bring on Van Jones, the CNN commentator who used to be the head of a radical Maoist direct action group in the Bay Area. I've known him for years. As soon as I met him, I'm like, this guy is on some kind of hustle because he was trying to get in with Obama and he was promoting all kinds of green initiatives. I'm like, if this guy's like into that, like green, renewable power, and you know, he's coming from the radical left, he's definitely a hustler. And he shows up at the rally, the genocide rally on the National Mall. He was clearly paid. So yeah, here's what happened. I mean, it was such a telling incident that says everything about pro-Israel forces today. I got to turn the volume up.
Something about what's happening here.
Let's start it over.
I do feel powerful is to maybe do something about what's happening here. Let's take a stand here against anti-Jewish bigotry. Let's take a stand against Muslims. Let's take a stand here against hatred. Let's take a stand here.
So, I mean, it doesn't show you exactly what happened, but basically Van Jones came out and tried to sound a little bit balanced and said that he prays that the captives will all be released and that the bombing of children in Gaza will stop. And the crowd just went apoplectic, began booing him and started chanting no ceasefire. And that's what you can hear. And it shook him so much that he had a Freudian slip and he said, let's take a stand against Muslims.
Yeah, when he meant to say, let's take a stand against anti-Muslim bigotry. But the problem with him making that slip is the crowd agrees with his mistake. So when he says, let's take a stand against Muslims, that's their message, actually. And that's what he's actually supporting by being there, is these people do want to take a stand against Muslims by killing them because, you know, they're driven by bigotry. And him trying to pander to them and find some middle ground. I'm sorry, Van Jones. Like, there's no middle ground with people who support mass murder.
Yeah.
There just isn't.
Well, when you're being paid, you can find some middle ground. I wonder how much he was paid. Because he, you know, like last year or 2 years ago, he actually did a speech for Jewish federations. And I mean, he's just such an avaricious character. Let's look at Van Jones from 1993 just to understand what a complete and total sellout he is back when he was a radical street activist in the Bay.
Now, if students can do that in 1960, if students can do that in 1970, if students can do that in 1985 and 86, in 1993, when we have the United States government building a death camp, a concentration camp for black people who have done nothing wrong but get sick and want justice. That's all they've done wrong. If we can't close that death camp, if this generation cannot prevent another Japanese American internment in our lifetime, we should all get haircuts and go get regular jobs and give it up.
We should all go to get haircuts and regular jobs and give it all up. And those words really resonate.
Prophecy. Van Jones fulfilled his own prophecy. Yeah.
30 years later, Van Jones has gotten a haircut and a real job, and he's chilling for the pro-Israel lobby. Now let's talk about, go ahead.
Well, I just want to say I ran into Van Jones. I ran into Van Jones about a year ago, maybe in a restaurant. And, you know, I looked at him very briefly and he noticed me looking at him and he gave me a nod. And the nod was like as if he thought I was showing him respect. And I really, it's like, he's like, you know, and I really want to tell him, you know, just what happened to you, man. Like, cause he used to say righteous things. He did. But anyway, that's his problem.
I saw him right before he got the CNN gig at a memorial for Giuliano Merhamis, who was the Israeli and Palestinian. Like his dad was Palestinian, his mom was Israeli. He was a sort of legendary activist in Israel, Palestine, who was killed. And there was a memorial for him in New York, and Van Jones was there wearing a kufiya. I mean, it's just so pathetic. He actually did a verse on a spoken word album for Palestine in 2003, I believe. So I guess, you know, everybody has a price.